Video games. Video games have been a constantly evolving media ever since the debut of Pac-Man in the year 1980. The first arcades were a revolutionary piece of entertainment medium where the grade school members of the 1980s could experience new worlds, spend exorbitantly high amounts of money, and give 60-year-old politicians a reason to blame all violent crime on for the next 40 years. What a blast. The late 80s is when things really got rolling with the release of this piece of hardware. The NES wasn't the first of its kind, but it quickly solidified itself as the best in class, not only in terms of the games, but in terms of its soundware. The hard drives on these things did not exist. Even with the cartridge-based systems, there was no way to store conventionally recorded sound on the level we see today. So what did Nintendo do? They innovated. The NES sound chip was a dedicated sub-processor that specifically handled sound. These sounds are archaic by today's standards, only able to make what is called chiptune, very simple, synthesized 3-track soundscapes based on frequency modulation. These songs typically have a bass, one lead, and occasionally a lead harmony. Sometimes the lead harmony is switched out for a percussive track. Any action of the characters also takes up a track, so a portion of the music will noticeably disappear when you jump or rapidly fire your weapon in most of these games. Though the sounds were archaic and the system capability limited, the music itself is pristinely well produced. Leading to instantaneously recognizable tunes and a now iconic style of music. This is indubiously the most iconic example, right? Everyone's heard this somewhere. The theme endures the ages time and time again. Almost every single Mario release has some form of this track. In the original, though, you can really pick apart its core elements. If you try hard enough, you can almost separate the 3 tracks in your mind, right? Try it now. Close your eyes. Embrace the Mario. This is another famous example. There's a sort of heroic tension here, crafted by the syncopation in the bass and the constantly rising lead melody. Even without the game on screen, this almost tastes like a tense battle, perfect for a game that simulates a boxing match against Mike Tyson. You know, before the ear-eating incident. before games could look or play like a semblance of real life, they told innovative stories. Even Mega Man 2, which is essentially just Mario with a gun, changed up the game by having an almost storyline, and even an opening cutscene that leads up to the title screen. This is one of my favorites. If you close your eyes and read the words at the same time, you can almost taste the storyline, flowing through the notes like a fine scent. After the release of the NES, all bets were off. Video games showed themselves to be extremely profitable for the developers, and Nintendo had a near total monopoly on the industry until Sega showed up with their unimportant. With the release of the Super Nintendo, people's jaws just about hit the floor. People could barely conceptualize that a game could look like this. And I mean, rightfully so, because this game looks pretty good. I mean, I don't even know what my point was about the tone in this. And while we're at it, what's the deal with video games? As you went further, games started going 3D. Doom is probably the most famous example, but they faked it. So the real original 3D hit was Half-Life, which is the proverbial capstone to the era, took a unique take on music by de-emphasizing it from the game. Oh. Yeah, music. I almost forgot to talk about that part. The Super Nintendo was immensely capable in so many ways, but it particularly shines in its musical ability. Don't believe me? Suffocate. Or you could just listen to the music. Try as I might, there's no better example than the opener to Donkey Kong Country. This just encapsulates everything about the era. The opening is specifically inspired by the theme of the original Donkey Kong game, which looked like this and sounded like that. Now it looks like, what? It sounds like, This might seem like going from absolute crap to this kind of mud, but the difference here is 10 years! You can compare a lot of games from 10 years ago to games now, and there's barely even a difference. But this is what they accomplished in 10 years! The instruments almost sound like instruments. There's almost what could be called sound effects. It's a game changer, both for the era itself and for how games are being perceived. They didn't just have to take your money anymore. They still did. Definitely still did that. But games could just as well be works of art now as any movie. Later on in the 90s, as the PlayStation and Xbox began to emerge from the primordial gamer soup, Half-Life took the stage. This is one of its only proper songs, as they had mastered over at Half-Life Incorporated the art of musical ambiance, which is a fancy way of saying they recorded noise and put it into the game. But what a song this is! It's not trying to sound like real instruments anymore. It focuses on that synthesized sound to breathe an air of the future as you make your way through this, for the time, revolutionarily well-detailed environment and reflect on the bizarre scientific adventure that you are about to undertake. Remember when I said that the Xbox was emerging from the primordial soup towards the end of the 90s? Well, once it finally picked up a power cable and declared, "I run game, therefore I am game console," it decided to really do it. Indescribable evolution. The orchestration, the liveliness, the haunting opening chants, the energy it brings. Everything about this lets you know that the past is now the past, and the future is here to launch gaming into the sky, goes up there, punches the moon, says, "Ha! The moon is Xbox now!" The distinctiveness of the sounds that are present here speak for themselves. You can tell that these are no longer synthesized instruments or techno-synth beats. This is real, recorded sound, right? Right? No, it is not. You've fallen directly into my trap. This level of sound competence was unprecedented, and it was the last true evolution of video game music, technically. From here, melody, tone, emotional weight, and experimentation are key. And keys they were, because the music in games was about to unlock its full potential. I can't believe I did that joke. At this period, music became more about matching the game than ever before. There's one example of this that has stuck with me ever since I played it, from Half-Life 2. What, did you think I was done talking about Half-Life? Not even close. Half-Life 2 is a game I could talk about for 100 billion minutes, and you can fact check me on that. That's verified by the World Health Organization and by Joe Biden, President of Uganda. Okay, get back on topic. But its third technical game under the name has just about the perfect example of the game and its music becoming wholly symbiotic. As in the original, ambiance is focused on, but in moments like this, where your only objective is to fight everything at once, in a battle scene that can truly only be experienced when you are in control. The music is everything. Do you think that there could be a battle as climactic and well designed as this piece? Can it intertwine as seamlessly with the gameplay as I described? Well, let's see. Yeah, it can. It does. With these developments, video game music was no longer a genre, but instead a medium where genres were applied. At this point, you may think there's nowhere to go but back down again, and on any other day you'd be right. However, the big fish is yet to be caught. Let's talk about the one and only Golden Age. Okay, here we are. This is the one. This is what I've been waiting for. This is the ultimate point. This is the moment. It's time. This is what it's all been leading up to, baby. This is the climax. This is the ultimatum of everything I have ever done in my entire life. Let's do it. The 2010s were good. I genuinely cannot describe how hard it is for me to talk about games from the 2010s from an analytical perspective, but there's no greater opener to this magical era than Team Fortress 2. This is a very, very old game. It just barely released as a standalone at the beginning of the era. But this game has lasted a very long time, and part of it is the wit and the charm of the characters themselves put to life in these hilarious short films independent from the game itself. But the music for this game is the perfect encapsulation of my whole thesis on how good music comes with good games. The whole thing is done by an actual live studio orchestra this time. There's no trap, I promise. It's not a trap this time, it is really a live studio orchestra. There's so much heart and power put into this piece that you can't just say, this is a good game anymore. You have to say, good God, this game is masterclass. This game is a work of art. You have to play this game for unreasonably long amounts of time and write essays on why it is a good game. I know this because these are all things that I have done, and this is one thing that came out of the 2010s. With this, the music of games is now one of its most iconic features, and as the industry reached an all-time peak, so too did its music. Let's keep it going, there is no way to stop this train, chugga chugga woot woot and the like. So what else? What else is there to use? Oh, yeah, Half-Life, baby! That's right, it's back! The 2010s also saw the release of Black Mesa, a remake of Half-Life that gave it the visuals it deserved and also gave their score an admittedly needed revamp. This part happens when you are fighting a big crab that definitely does not have any features that may be questionable without context. But this is another example where I truly remember that games are artistry, morphing masterpieces driven forward by incredible scores. If there is something else that you can think of that screams, I am fighting a giant crab in space with a rocket launcher, more than this, let me know, because I want to hear it. Immersion is everything in games like this, and immersion on this scale can't be explained. There's nothing else I can say about this, so I just have to show you. I don't want this video to be 500 hours long, but there's so many more unique styles and sounds that I wish I had the time to show. Cuphead, Doom, Minecraft, Borderlands, Portal, Subnautica, Among Us. Come on, you can't have a discussion of video game music without talking about Among Us. All of these have incredible soundscapes with unforgettable tracks that I wish I could show, but I can't. Right now, there's only one game whose music I need to share. Toby Fox's Undertale could easily be mistaken for an NES title at first, but it quite literally means more to me emotionally than any game I have ever played within all my time on the planet. There are some things that I will never be able to hope to explain in detail, and my connection to Undertale is one of them. But the part I can hope to share with you is the music. Every single song on this album is unfathomably powerful and sounds amazing, blending the 80s chiptune with modern orchestral recorded sound and a multitude of synthesized instrumentals from every era I've mentioned. I can't think of a better way to end this section than with what I consider to be the end-all of video game music. And the crown jewel of this veritable treasure trove is Hopes and Dreams, a rock synth anthem that resounds while you battle an infinitely powerful god at the edge of space and time that has eaten the souls of everybody you know and is threatening to cause reality to collapse in on itself. But listen to the power behind this track.
Ludicrous speed! Go!
Not letting on to the power of your adversary. It's too rock, it's too anthemic, it's too much of a motivator to be the theme of your enemy. No, this time, it's your theme. A battle that at my description sounds impossible, but there's no way that you're going to lose. I've faded in and out of this soundtrack since I discovered it, but every time I pick it up, I can't put it back down for months. If you stripped everything away from what I've done today, broke everything I've shared down to nothing, and left only one thing, this would be it. This is Undertale. This is the encapsulation of everything I have ever and will ever love about video games. This is the encapsulation of everything I have ever and will ever love about music. There's nothing else I can say. All there is to do now is finish it. And this is unfortunately where things take a turn. You see, when you make a masterpiece encapsulation of everything that music has ever been, things tend to get bad. So, we've made it here. Anybody who plays games knows that they have become less than they used to be. Don't get me wrong, some of them are amazing. I've played some recent games that have absolutely blown me away. This track is from one of them. But it's undeniable that the industry has declined. Not in terms of output necessarily, but in terms of quality. Quality of story, quality of substance behind the visuals, and most of all, quality of music. These past 2 years have been horrible in particular. Games that boast incredible visuals do in fact have them, but are technically lacking and often one note, banking on technology from previous installments in their franchises that once made their games revolutionary, but now are just no longer enough to make them unique, flopping when it comes to the masterful emotional beats and heartfelt power of musicality that the previous era provided. In the end, there is no way to determine how the future will go, as larger developers continuously lose touch with the consumer, releasing visually stunning games with no substance. Turning to smaller studios has become a surprisingly reliable way to receive the type of game I and many others wish we could have back. Headlining these games, as I've tried to show time and time again, is the music. You can always tell a good game by the good music. That's what I've been trying to lead up to. If the message isn't clear enough, try a few of these games yourself if you haven't. See what you've been missing. Really take some time to listen to the music and see if you can feel a little bit of what I felt. What I do feel. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate it more than you know. And on that topic, did you know that croutons actually have real eyes? Bye-bye.